Hello, this is Gio, and this here is my Oreck Upright XL2 in this case, but XLs are very similar, vacuum cleaners. And these are great little vacuum cleaners. They are really workhorses, but they do cost a little bit of money. Actually, several $100s new. And so you want to protect your investment and keep these in good operating order. Now, and part of that is just to keep them clean. And so these things are pretty easy to clean, not too many parts to undo. So I'll show you how to do that today. So here's the underside of the Oreck. I just flipped it over, and the first step is just to remove the 5 screws. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they do work on Phillips. And you can stick them in and basically loosen each one up until they're all loosened. So I loosen them up and I just lift carefully up just like that, and all the screws will kind of dump out. Just kind of dump them out on the floor just like that. And so we're first going to focus just on the bottom here, and right here, I'm not sure if you can see, there's a little rubber thing that helps guide debris. Now this gets all caked up quite often, and it's only 3 little screws. So I'll go ahead and take those screws out now. So I took the 3 screws out, and you just kind of lift this little plate up, and then you can kind of clean it out. I just recently cleaned it. So put that aside, and then this little rubber thing just lifts up just like that. And you can go ahead and just wash that and clean this out. You could actually just take this whole bottom section and kind of clean it under the sink with soap, etc. Nothing that'll hurt it. And then when you're done, you just replace it. There's a little ridge here. I don't know if you could see, but that goes towards the front, and you just slip it back in. Just put this right like that. There's a little groove here that fits right under. And then go ahead and replace your screws. Now with your bottom component all cleaned, and now we're going to focus on the inside. Now this is what the inside of an Oreck looks like. Basically you have a motor, you have this little hole here where debris and air comes in and then up into the bag. And so here's your brush mechanism right here. It is driven by the motor, which has a rod here, and the belt. The belt brings the motion to the brush, and it spins. And you need to replace typically your belt, and quite often your brush gets all a bunch of string, hair, gets all caked up and periodically needs cleaning. So we'll go ahead and just start by removing the belt, and you can just do that by kind of spinning it out like this. Oops, let me show you. There we go. And then taking out the belt. And then with the belt off, you could just simply slip this whole belt off, just like that. That's what one side looks like. And you could just clean this, cut all the strings, and even wash it underneath the sink if you want to. And then to replace it, you just take it. It has a little bit of grooves up on top on both sides, showing where the top is. So that goes, you should see that. And you just go ahead and fit it back into the groove on both sides until they're flush, just like that, on both sides, and then make sure it's freely spinning. Okay, so the belt, if you need to replace your belt, you just sort of just go in there and shimmy it out just like that, and then shimmy it back in, the new belt. And then you could also, with the belt removed, you can go ahead and just clean all your internal parts, dust it, clean it. You want to be careful if you use any sprays, liquid, not to get it on the motor itself. You want to cover that. You could perhaps use cleaner inside. That's okay. With this portion off, you can clean underneath here, but do not get, or try not to damage the motor itself. So going back, putting back the belt, you put back the belt, you bring it over here, you sort of hold the belt in place there while rotating this, and it should all kind of fall into place just like that. You want to spin a little bit so everything's in line, And there you go, and the motor should kind of wiggle. There's a fan right here, and so everything works. So again, that's the inside. So before you finish up and put the lid back on, there is also this little rubber gasket ring around that also gets scooped up. Sometimes this tears and needs replacement as well. It's really easy to remove it. You just kind of start with one corner and sort of just bend upwards, and after that happens, you could just easily remove the whole thing, being careful. And on the top here, you'll notice that it has a groove. That groove is to get around this pipe. So that would be the back of the ring. And when you turn it around, you'll see it has some grooves. There's a groove, so it kind of turns over on the edge, and the groove will fit into this little slot here. If you could see that, so it kind of just fits right in. So you could go ahead and take this to your sink and clean it all out. But when you're ready to replace it, you want to make sure that this part is on the top. So that's kind of where you want to start with. And here, let me put the camera down. You can see. And then you just start at the top. Make sure the corners are kind of set. You go to one end, and then the last end is a little bit harder because you kind of have to bend and stretch. So you bend and pull a little bit until it's in place. Now typically once you get it in place, you're not done, because you kind of have to work this little groove over this little plastic part, and that usually takes a little bit of effort. You kind of have to kind of move it back and forth a little bit and get it all over, especially in the corners. It could be a little hard, but make sure once it's in that groove, everything should be nice and flat and flush, just like this, just like that. This one is still out, and so once you pop that back in place, it should align nicely. Okay, so with your outer ring properly in place, you want to make sure that nothing's jiggled, the brush is in place, everything's clean. Then you just go ahead and replace your bottom, and it just slips straight on, just like that. You can kind of push it down a little bit, take your screws, just place them all inside their holes, and then take your Phillips, and then just kind of loosely tighten them. Don't tighten them too much. You just kind of want to go back and forth and make sure that as you tighten, it's all even until they're all tight. So with all your screws back in place, you should be able to just lift it up, stand her up, and go ahead and do your vacuuming. You could replace your bag as well. But other than the bag replacement, that is basically all the maintenance you should need to do, unless the motor goes bad or if you get some blockages in the pipe. But just some periodic cleaning should keep your Oreck running nice and smooth. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.